Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. If you're watching this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a new episode of Major Previews, this time for April of 2025. I am not alone. I'm here with the comic OG himself, Alex Garcia. Go ahead, tell the people what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? With you for another great month of brand new books. April. We're already in April.
It's
It's crazy.
bonkers. I don't even check calendars anymore. I just check episodes of previews. That's how I am counting time moving
It's a good
forward
way.
here. And I'm going to tell you, bro, this is one of the hardest episodes I've had to do in quite some time. When we first started this series, we were doing 5 picks a piece, and these episodes were ranging over an hour as we talked
Right.
about how great all of our choices and the choices in general were of these great comics. And it's getting hard with the 3 comic cutoff, but I find it as a little bit of a challenge. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this ad nauseum, but we are in a very, very rare time in comic books right now. Everything is firing on all cylinders. Usually, you can kind of, and I know you've done this on occasion, you can kind of like, kind of ignore the big two while while they're on their treadmills, with their characters not really
hmm
going anywhere, not really doing anything. But now DC's doing their absolute stuff. Marvel's doing their ultimate stuff. Both of those are ramping up for big crossovers. You have the Summer of Superman. You have One World Under Doom. Both of those meant to capitalize on the films that will be coming out this summer with Superman and Fantastic Four, respectively.
Crazy.
Um, Storm is hitting 50 issues. I almost put that on my list. Or 50 year anniversary, sorry. 50 year anniversary for that character with Storm number 7. We have Godzilla taking on a whole slew, and you can't pick every single one of those comics.
Nope.
There's so much good out there. So I want to apologize first and foremost. I don't have any indie picks on my list this month, just because there are some very big picture sort of comics that I have on my list this month. But we always circle back, even if we haven't picked up on certain issues or storylines. We love to talk about it on our bigger podcast, the Major Issues podcast. So if any
Yeah.
of those indie titles are screaming at you guys, let us know in the comments, because I'm always ready to deep dive into some really cool, far out, creator owned content. There seems to be a little bit more heart in there, but that used to be just a uniform statement you could say that across the board, there's more heart. But we're getting a little bit of heart injections out of the big two, and it's because of tremendous, absolute tremendous creative teams getting put together. Uh, I I'll go ahead, seeing as I'm already on a little bit of a diatribe myself, and I'll go ahead and I'll bring up my absolute number one pick, which is Absolute Green Lantern number one, which was almost on my list last month, but delays, got it moved over. It's gonna come out on April 2nd of 2025. The writer is Al Ewing, and the artist and cover are by Janoy Lindsay. And yeah, it's very short synopsis without the core, without the ring, without the willpower. What is left of the absolute Green Lantern? And they've been doing such a tremendous job deconstructing some of these heroes to see how much you can take away and still maintain the feeling, of the titled hero, right? How much can you take away from Batman and he still feel like Batman? How much can you take away from Wonder Woman and Superman and have them feel the same? I am, foaming at the mouth to get my hands on Absolute Martian Manhunter, to get my hands on Absolute Flash by friend of the show, Jeff Lemire. And Al Ewing has been a name burned into my brain since Immortal Hulk, but then people
Mhm.
have gotten me to check out the Ultimates and some of the other work that he's been doing, and just amazing stuff. Just great, downright amazing stuff. Green Lantern, while it is someone that I am aware of, besides the Jeff Johns run, I don't really have a heart connection to this character. You know, like I like Jeff Johns' Rebirth. I like the introduction of the emotional spectrum. I like putting Hal up there. John Stewart, Guy Gardner, etc. But we're basically starting from scratch in this absolute universe. Um, and it doesn't look like it's going to be as cookie cutter. I mean, think about it. The our Silver Age Green Lantern was just a pastiche on the older Green Lantern, just a
Yes, it
just a
was.
a rebuild on that myth. But if you could start from scratch, what does that look like?
Right.
I've trusted this publisher and these creative teams in the past with the other Absolute books coming out, and we're gonna get a janky Absolute Justice League if we think about some of these characters together, man.
No, I mean what I like is I'm hearing how it's gonna be like a Justice League. It's like, all right, we're here to get this problem done,
Yeah,
and then we're done.
lose my
Because
number.
right, right, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I like that.
yeah. So I often say, these new introductions, these sort of Elseworld stories, they can be someone's entry point into a character. And like I said, I feel like if you're not really digging how, I feel like like Sojourner got some play. People talk great things about Far Sector, but they haven't necessarily continued that story.
No.
And with great reverence, if you will. I remember when I heard Grant Morrison was getting on a Green Lantern book. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get on that." And Grant was being a bit Grant because he gets on space stuff and it gets a little crazy, But I'm hoping that this is back to basics. I'm hoping that this is going to boil everything down to we could distill what not only the Green Lantern means, but who knows? Are we getting a core? Are we getting, an overseeing, overarching space police force? Uh, they got an opportunity right here to put a brand new coat of paint, green paint, on a very very established character, and I can't wait to see what they do with Absolute Green Lantern #1.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. The Absolute Universe is definitely something that you've seen it on our page, guys. We've been tracking it very well. It is the number one selling universe, I believe, from last year with the Energon universe like right there, and the Ultimates also right there. The Absolute Universe is only gaining more traction now that they're adding Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. And like you
Yeah,
said, this Green Lantern is by himself or herself. I'm not quite sure who
they're
or
being
what.
also very vague about who this is about, and
Right,
if there is a
right.
central character, because I think solicitations have shown a possible Joe, Sojourner, a possible Hal. So it's like
Yeah.
they're really keeping their cards close to the chest with this one.
Yeah, and it's the idea that there really is no core. There is no giant space police force. Even the whole idea of willpower seems to be going to be reinvented, and it's all being chased down because in this absolute universe, it's this dark, just murky, almost dystopian universe where it seems like the Black Hand has won, and
Yeah,
he's chasing down this remnants of whatever this Green Lantern was or is in the absolute universe. And Al Ewing, talk about a guy who knows how to tell crazy space stories. Well, ever
yeah,
since his time on the Ultimates, his Immortal Hulk, and just being able to bring in these new far out concepts, Green Lantern just lends itself perfectly to him. And to give him a brand new sandbox, like here, reinvent the wheel with the Green Lantern, he's gonna knock it out of the park. This stuff is looking great, and it's all headed by Scott Snyder. Come on, it's gonna be fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's gonna be
So I
amazing.
yeah, and speaking of amazing, that's gonna be my number one pick for the upcoming month because speaking of friends of the show, guys, if you haven't watched our interview with Joe Kelly yet, jump on it because he talks a lot about my number one pick, which is going to be Amazing Spider-Man #1, a brand new #1, but brought to you by Joe Kelly, Pepe Larraz, and John Romita Jr. Guys, you Joe Kelly is to me the writer that needed to be brought in. The last couple runs between Nick Spencer and then Zeb Wells, they've been kind of downers, not bad downers, just in that it's kind of dragging Peter through the mud. Joe, I believe, is the guy to come in because the guy has such a natural reverence and admiration and love for the character of Peter Parker that I believe he's going to re-elevate, reinvigorate the fun parts of the Parker legacy. He's the covers on this are blatantly showing that he is all about bringing back the old foes. We got Rhino showing up, we got Lizard showing up, we got Craven showing up, and it seems like the character that he wants to highlight in his run is going to be the Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin is a villain we have not seen really at all in years.
Yeah,
Recently, it seems like the Green Goblin kind of shut down Roger Kinsley, but that's the fun that was fun for years with the Hobgoblin is who's the Hobgoblin? There have been many people that take on the mantle of the Hobgoblin. So I could totally see Joe bringing in a whole new person to reassume this mantle, and we get that fun. Who is the Hobgoblin? How long will that mystery last? Where will it go? And in the meantime, I really believe Joe is going to probably reintroduce some sort of flame. I really would love to see like another new female interest for him to chase along and bring along and see how this new woman blends with this new, hopefully uplifted Parker universe that we're gonna get. And again, to highlight Pepe Larraz, guys, if you read that X-Men run that he did with Jonathan Hickman, his art is gorgeous.
It
So
is.
if you haven't checked it out, check out some of the preview pages he's got. I mean, his Rhino looks unbelievable. Even his Spider-Man, his Spider-Man's got that classic look, but it's also looking really modern and shiny. I am unbelievably excited for this new relaunch of Spider-Man because I can't wait to get the taste of the Zeb Wells one out of my mouth, even though I did like the Tombstone stuff. And even now, it's funny how, like I said, Joe's like a guy to bring in like the happiness, but he's really bringing Peter down right now. So the eight deaths, I'm hoping we get eight wonderful resurrections where Peter just gets to have the fun that we need to have with Spider-Man.
100%. And we have the unique delight, insight, because we actually got to speak to Joe Kelly, on uncensored, and we talked a little bit about this run. He talks about how sometimes writers can get too distracted with just trying to punish Peter, and
Mhm.
as a method of getting good stories out of him. The Dan Slott run, has its naysayers, and it has the people who champion it. But I think one of the best parts about it is that it was all him, right? Like for the length of time that
Yep.
it was all his style. It's kind of like what people say about the Zack Snyder thing, right? It's like I like Zack Snyder's Justice League more than I like Justice League, just on the premise that he that's the story he wanted to tell, and you could tell he wanted to tell it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
with some of these other writers, I don't know how long they felt like they were going to be on these books. I don't know if they were given, leeway to do whatever they wanted with some of these characters. And, I mean, rec rap, right? Like some of this stuff, some of the stuff that they ended up choosing to do, it was a bit out there. But I do think Mr. Kelly is going to bring back that whole friendly neighborhood vibe to Spider-Man. And one of the things I find interesting about how Joe portrays the relationship between Spider-Man and his villains is that, like, if like let's say the Rhino is a big bank guy, right? Like a big like bank heist guy. Like that's his thing, right? He goes and robs banks, right? Um, the day that he sees him murdering a bunch of people, he doesn't just apprehend him. He'll be like, Alexi, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like I know,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't like you. Like, not just go in there fist a blazing. Like, he knows his villains. He knows his rogues gallery. And he has a little bit of tenderness for some of these guys. He'll be like, hey, bro, like, I locked you up a month ago. You told me that it was all good. Like, what's going on, bro? I need the medicine for my kid. Okay, let's go get that medicine. Like, he's not one to just be
Right.
judge, jury, and executioner. So that familiarity with the rogue gallery is something that I think Joe's gonna play around with. He really likes the Rhino.
Yeah.
He brought, he done some stories with the Rhino in general, and I know that by
Amazing
starting with
stories.
him, yeah, by starting with him, it's also somebody that we know. This is still a little bit small scale. I wouldn't be surprised if it blows up way bigger. I wouldn't be surprised if the story gets larger, but you got to
Yeah.
start in the neighborhood. You start in the neighborhood, you have heart there, and then you can have things expand. But this is somebody that I know has Spider-Man's voice. Know Spider-Man like the back of his hand. I've seen him not only write Spider-Man in regular Spider-Man stuff, but Spider-Man with Deadpool, other sort of team up stuff. Really, really gets this guy. He did his dragging of Peter in his eight deaths. He did,
Yeah.
and so I hope everyone got the part of my phrase, torture porn out of that whole experience, because now we start fresh. And come on, you're gonna tell me that Joe Kelly doesn't know that people might be kind of leaning towards the Ultimate Universe, or people might be sort of leaning towards other iterations of Spider-Man. He's right
Hmm.
there, he's right there in competition with some of the best. You understand? And I know he's gonna try to do his best, but his best artistic foot forward, his creative foot forward, to
Yep.
rise that title back to prominence. Because Spider-Man's down, but as we know, he's never down for long. And Amazing Spider-Man won't be down for long. I don't see that at
Damn
all.
right. So
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
taking us?
Bro, okay, so I missed the comic. By the time this comes out, it would have already the comic would have already come out by the time this episode comes out. But apparently, Godzilla is having some fun in the Marvel universe, and it starts with Godzilla and the Fantastic Four, which is being released in at the end of March. And one of the first ones to be released after that is Godzilla versus the Hulk *1, published
Hmm.
in April 16th of 2025. The writer is Jerry Duggan. The artist is Giuseppe Camuncoli. And this is
Perfect.
considered round two. So I had to go back and be like, when the hell was round one? Round one is
Hmm.
Fantastic Four versus Godzilla.
Right.
So the synopsis goes: General Ross has no tolerance for monsters in any form. With his anti-kaiju task force, the Thunderbolts, he's taken down or imprisoned the biggest and baddest monsters of the planet: Fing Fang Foom, Mothra, Kamunga, even the Hulk. Now all that's left is his biggest hunt of all, Godzilla. But the Thunderbolts' efforts to bring their last monster to heel may just result in the most destructive battle royal to ever rock the earth. It's time to figure out who's really the strongest there is. And this is round two in a series of 6 one-shot throwdowns. And I was looking at the ones coming out this month, and I gotta go Godzilla and Hulk because what a juxtaposition, right? Two atomically powered, basically atomically
Hmm.
powered
Right.
accidental creatures that are forces of nature that
Hmm.
seemingly are indestructible and evolve with the combat that they face.
Right.
I don't know what sort of stalemate is going to happen in this because usually with these sort of crossovers, right? They don't like to definitively say that one thing
No.
is better
Nope.
than the other. I think that's partially some of the licensing, agreements. Is like, well,
That's right.
yeah, you get to use Godzilla, but he can't be punked out on page one,
That's right.
by Spider Boy or whatever. But I often think that the MCU or maybe comics in general would be better served if the Hulk was portrayed more like Godzilla, more like this. Like we just get to see what happens when he comes in, does his stuff, and leaves. You
Yeah.
know, because he is this show of force, and he is just this unstoppable, almost like the weather, almost like a hurricane or an earthquake. Um, I also think of Ragnarok, big monster, right? Like you just see the Godzilla and be like, yeah. And there's a very there's a very there's a panel that we posted of Godzilla doing his atomic breath and Wolverine lunging at him,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
only see like a skeleton. And it's like, yeah, like some characters are just gonna have that attitude towards that big old lizard. So yeah, I'm going Godzilla and Hulk. I really want to see how they do the stalemate, but what interesting characters in popular culture. I mean, the Hulk has been around for 60 years at this point.
70 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and in movies, in cartoons, in television, in all forms. Same thing with Godzilla in all in the ultimate different forms. So to put these two humongous, colossal characters against one another, yeah, man, I'm there and I'm there with a bag of popcorn.
No, definitely. This is going to be a lot of fun. These rounds, so to speak. The first round being against Fantastic Four, this round against the Hulk, and then we got round three in the same month. It was going to be against Spider-Man. And what's fun is it's just going to be fun. I think Marvel and DC they get this natural rivalry that happens sometimes where one does
Yep,
one thing and then the other one has to kind of come along and do the same thing. Whereas, like where we had Marvel Zombies, and then DC did their Deceased,
yep,
and so many other things. DC just recently did, King Kong versus Godzilla versus Justice League, and it
yes.
seems like Marvel went knocking on Toho's door, like, "Yo, we want in on this too. We want in on this too. We'll take the other Godzilla because this is more of the classic Godzilla,
Yeah.
whereas it seems DC got to use the theatrical Godzilla from that Universal monster
Yes. Yep. Yeah. You're
from
100% right.
right that. So but they were like, okay, we'll take classic Godzilla, we'll take rubber suit looking Godzilla, all good, we'll
Yeah.
have some fun with it, and we'll turn it into this almost like old school Mortal Kombat tournament style,
Yeah, yeah.
where it's like, are you've chosen Godzilla, now you got to go through the ranks. Oh, Fantastic Four, Hulk, Spider-Man. All right, who's next? The whole Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy are showing up. What's
Right.
going on? So I this is just going to be a lot of fun. The creators on all these books look great. I mean, Joe Kelly's coming on for the Godzilla vs. Spider-Man one.
Oh,
So
that's
I think
awesome.
that's gonna be cool. And the artwork on all these books look like it's top tier. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is definitely that popcorn fun, especially if guys you don't want to get involved in all these big universes, because I can understand sometimes you just want your fun books, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to worry about, oh man, I got to read 85 issues of this to kind of grasp this whole universe. Ooh, I can just read these 6 issues, Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe, so to speak. I can see how that's very appealing to people. So why not? This is definitely going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And and spoiler alert, this is round two of six rounds that are already predetermined. So
Yeah.
it's not ending here. So
No,
even though this is the
no,
one
it's
I'm
not.
picking, it's not gonna end here. And hopefully, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how a lot of people do this. They pick one book and then they're like, oh well, I guess I've got to get into this whole adventure. And
Yeah, that's it.
it's
That's
gonna
it.
be
That's
worth
it.
it.
And the best part is, at the end of it all, it's going to end with Godzilla just walking back into the ocean.
Yeah, yeah, and then people waving and and it's like,
Thank
I
you,
guess I
Godzilla.
guess we never truly understood him. And
Understood.
then the end.
To be
Okay.
continued.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Speaking of
Um,
continuing, how are you continuing with
oh,
your
I
picks
am
here for April?
my g- I'm continuing with the big man right behind me because guys,
Ooh. Did you
James
trip
Gunn,
and
right?
fall into the DC universe? What
I
happened?
did. I did. You know what it is? The absolute universe has been pulling me in. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in, right? The absolute universe keep sucks me back into the DC universe. And James Gunn, that the trailer for Superman has got me so hyped
Yeah.
that I want to read more Superman books. I really haven't touched Superman since like the New 52. I've gotten
Okay.
a little taste of him here and there, nothing to truly suck me in. I believe it was Dan Jurgens that had a really good run on him in like the Rebirth era,
Yeah, really good
and
stuff.
Philip. Sorry, I think Philip Kennedy Johnson even had a little run with him. But
Hmm.
then the Joshua Williamson stuff I'm hearing about is really, really good, and I'm tempted to go back and read that recent Doomsday arc he did. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
with Superman coming in and DC just saying, look, this is going to be the summer of Superman, I got to jump on the Summer of Superman special #1 because it's all hands on deck for this. And this is going to be the perfect reintroduction, not only for myself, but for anybody who wants to also jump in on Superman because I believe this movie is going to be damn good and it's going to make people want to read it or want to read Superman. And I think this is the book that's going to make you understand everything that's catch you up, so to speak, on on the Superman universe. I'm just going to read the solicitation verbatim because it's what pulled me in,
Okay.
right? We got the Man of Steel and his universe of friends, family, and allies and rogues is in for some big changes. And it all starts with the Summer of Superman special. We got Mark Wade, Josh Williamson, and guy we just talked about, Dan Slott, right? Dan Slott has jumped from Marvel to
Gang,
DC,
gang.
and he's going to be kicking butt in a Superman book. And they're bringing in, this oversized special issue will set the stage for all the major events exploding throughout the Superman titles. When John Henry Irons and Lana take their vows, what? What?
Which is,
Everybody
I mean, I
turns
don't
up for
want to
the.
spoil anything, but that's a Superman and Lois thing.
Shh, shh, talk about
I was like, wow. I was like, they're doing that over there?
But
I was like,
but trouble is brewing on the horizon as the threats from the past, present, and future kick off with the new major new conflicts for the Superman family. I'm excited for it, right? Because it's Superman. It's Superman, and James Gunn knows that in order to have a successful universe, whether it's in the pages of the comic books or in the movie theaters, you need to have a solid Superman. And think about it. What was the weak link? I'm sorry to say about the Snyder run, but what was the weak link in all of it, right? Everybody loved Superman. People even, I mean, I'm sorry, everybody loved the Wonder Woman. People even dug like Batfleck for the most part. But the
100%.
character that it felt like was the crux of the story, especially in what we got in the first Justice League movie and even in Man of Steel, people were kind of confused. Like, all right, what kind of Superman is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? This is a Superman that doesn't really care about the human race. This is a Superman that saves people with a sadness. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I guess I have to.
Right.
this Superman that we're getting is smiling. He's enjoying himself. And I know you're not seeing it on this cover, but the artwork by Jimenez, mind you,
Amazing.
top top tier. Jorge Jimenez, Dan Moore, are probably the two best artists in the industry right now. I am
Yeah.
not a DC guy. I am not a DC guy. So for me to say that must mean something.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's got a great smile on his face if you catch this cover. And this book really has me excited. Great price tag of $5.99. It's going to be supersized issue to just catch you up on everything going on in Superman. And there's so much good Superman stuff to come, not only from this, like it's the summer of Superman, guys. There's like 15 Superman books coming out
Yeah.
in the month of April. So jump on it, get yourself ready for what's going to be an absolutely beautiful Superman movie. I mean, it's got me wanting a dog. I'm not a dog person either. I'm not a dog person. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I love that when he's whistling, calling for the dog, and the dog comes,
Oh, it's
Crypto,
beautiful stuff.
take me home. I'm like, oh man. And there's so many variant covers of throughout all the April solicitations with Crypto on it, and they
Yeah.
all look great. So guys, I'm really, really excited for DC right now. I'm jumping into Superman. Are you gonna jump in with me?
I believe so because you know me, man. Before I pull out my soapbox, I do think there needs to be a worldwide re-education camps for everyone about Superman. Yes, I'm saying it. It's just a wave. My heart goes out to you.
I'm doing the Elon.
Yeah, my heart goes out to you. So I do believe that there is a lot of that the Snyder version of Superman has done to the actual character of Superman. But I will also go to say that there's been a measured effort across the board, whether it's Superman and Lois, whether it's what you were talking about, the Dan Jurgens or Peter J. Tomasi runs on Rebirth, putting him with his son, right? And John Kent and all that stuff, the getting rid of the secret identity stuff. There's so much good that has been done behind the scenes to have Superman be the kind of character, a lot of rehab that has been done to behind the scenes to have Superman be the character that most of us remember. To the point that we currently have My Adventures with Superman right now. It's still kicking, about to go to season 3.
Hmm.
People do like Superman, but we have not gotten a great translation of how he should exist in the modern day. And you got to believe that everybody on that special it's got to be their task to re-educate an entire fan base on why this superhero is not only important, but he could be pretty damn cool too. There's a lot of when I look at like Captain America pre MCU, I was not a fan. I thought all of it was a bit old fashioned and a bit old hat
Mhm.
until they showed Chris Evans, and until Chris Evans just showed that he's just genuinely a nice guy and he's just trying his best. And if you took a little bit of that and put it on Superman, he garner a lot more fans. But in an era like we are just talking about, we're not only fighting for people to respect Superman more in comparison to all the other DC characters, but his film will be coming out the same month as the Fantastic Four, the same month. So more than ever, DC is going quote unquote all in on their superhero, the first superhero, the one that created them all, in many ways.
Mhm.
And they're putting their best foot forward with it, and I can't wait to see what it is because I do think when done best, you start to really realize why Superman is top tier like that. It's a damn shame they let so many people get ahead of him and they made him turn evil so many damn times because we need a North Star now more than ever. And I think a impassioned immigrant story, a story of restraint when you can be the loudest, when you can be might is right
Mhm.
in a world like today, man, good stories can change the world. Good comics can change the world, and hopefully,
Damn
this
right.
is a step in the right direction with Mister Superman.
That's right.
Uh,
How you
I
rounding us off?
Bro, so many reasons. I was looking through all the comics, and I'm like, man, which is gonna be my final pick? And it just spoke to me because even though it's a little bit gimmicky in its premise, I'm going with Daredevil: Cold Day in Hell #1.
Mm.
Published April 2nd of 2025. Writer Steve McNiven and Charles Soule, with the penciler being Steve McNiven. And we if you're listening to this, then our two-part Charles Soule Daredevil recap and reviews already out in preparation for Daredevil Born Again. Everyone's back on their Daredevil tip. Everyone's out there trying to read Braille again. It's a whole it's a whole thing. But I have to close my eyes and walk around with a stick to find this one because this is something that has been rumored for quite some time. There have been a bunch of stories in this sort of old man universe, people like to call it,
Right.
right? Like Old Man
Hmm.
Logan, Old Man Quill, stuff like that, Old Man Hawkeye. Um,
Yep.
but uh, I think if it wasn't Charles Soule on this, I would have kind of side-eyed it a little bit. But I'm liking the artwork on it. I like how old and gritty they making Matt look.
Yeah.
Um, the synopsis says Hell gone cold. After a horrific series of events, the world is in shambles. Matt Murdock is old and his powers have faded to nothing. Matt will not, however, sit back and watch his fellow New Yorkers suffer. So instead of swinging around the city from his Billy Club line, he slings soup at a food center for the poor. But when a mysterious wrinkly old man interrupts a secret convoy, causing an explosion, a deadly gas fills Hell's Kitchen, and this tale takes a turn that will change how you look at the man without fear.
Mm.
These usually serve, like I said previously, about like the absolute stuff and the ultimate stuff. Um, are doing their best as a new introduction of these characters by boiling down all the things that are not 100% necessary and keeping the core. And it's funny because these old man books kind of do the same. They kind of say, okay, you know that guy, you know how he responds and how he acts in the world that you know him from. Let's pull him out. Let's put him in a completely different world and show how he would still be that same person. How those still same morals and values will return at one point. I mean, this was famously, I want to say, I could be wrong, but like this trend starts with Dark Knight Returns, right? Like this trend of like older heroes
Yes.
coming back
Hmm.
out of retirement
Yep.
and what the world looks like, a different
Hmm.
world, and how they respond to it. And considering the similarities between Daredevil and Batman, it's kind of crazy that it took this long to get
Right.
a man without fear returns kind of situation. But I'm loving the character of Matt Murdock. I'm loving all the newfound love that he's getting throughout the various appearances in media that we're getting. Still crossing my fingers for Daredevil on film, which we haven't gotten in close to 20 years. We're over 20 years now. We haven't got a Daredevil on film. So, I'm hoping that a rising tide raises all ships, but it starts with good stories like this. Um, I want to believe that Elektra ended up in the void, and then Ben Affleck grew into an old man and became, and this will be our story of following him. But yeah, Charles Soule knows the character. He also knows how to do like anthology series where they just pick up from an arbitrary plot point, as shown in things like his Vader run, and now he's doing a bit of a Kylo Ren, Legacy of
Yes.
Vader, Kylo Ren
Hmm.
story. So they're like, okay, we're starting in here. You get to play between this and this line, and do the best you can in the middle of it.
Right.
And it's his understanding of these characters that allows him to color in between the lines and still make interesting art. So with all the Daredevil we're consuming in preparation for Daredevil Born Again, this was right up not only our alley but the alley of anyone else sort of following this character through all these iterations.
Yeah, absolutely. What a team. Charles Soule and Steve McNiven. This is looking really, really good. It was on my radar. I love the fact that it's only 3 issues.
Yep.
I love 3 issue miniseries because there's no fat to trim. It's gonna get to the
Yeah.
point. It's gonna hit you hard. Charles Soule, as we've seen from his Daredevil run and lots of other things he's written, this guy knows how to tell a story and punch you in the gut. And having it be drawn by Steve McNiven, this guy is still one of the superstar artists out there. So
100%.
just seeing the couple panels, this is going to be a beautifully drawn but gritty book, and it's going to tell a classic, right, Dark Knight Returns esque story. But now we get Matt in the middle of it, and a Matt with no powers. But what I'm wondering is this gas going to be somehow connected to his origin? Because remember, that's like it was like a gas
Yeah.
or something that fell on
Not
him.
again.
So not again, or is it gonna like reinvigorate his powers in some way for him to come back so he can deal with whatever the issue is?
Yeah.
I could totally see that something like that happening. But yeah, no, this is definitely a great pick. This is definitely, especially this is gonna fall on the lips of people who are loving Born Again that like, okay, I don't want to read a 60, 70 issue run on Daredevil. Ooh, I can read this 3 issue miniseries. Perfect. You know what I mean? So yeah, heck yeah. I'm
Yeah,
down with it. Cold day in hell. I
cold
like
day
it.
in hell. I'm digging it too. Yeah, and only 3 issues, like you said, in and out. Tell your story.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
Perfect.
ready for it.
Perfect.
What's your
Um,
last pick for this month of
my
April?
last pick is speaking of just fun and just having a good time book, something you can just get into and enjoy yourself. My last pick is The Predator versus Spider-Man, #1. Yep, by Benjamin
You want to
Percy.
talk about that whole anything you could do, I could do better thing. They did, famously Batman fought the Predator. I want to say in the 90s.
Oh, way back in the
Oh
90s.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
over
yeah.
at DC, and Marvel was like, we're gonna have him go through the gauntlet over here too. He's already tackled Black Panther for a bit. Now he's moving over to Spidey.
He started with Wolverine, then he
You're
went to
right.
Black Panther. And I kept my eye on those things. I didn't really read them, but I knew that there would be fun books. Benjamin Percy can tell an action story, and the
Yeah,
artwork always looked good on these books. But it was like, okay, I can in out of continuity, fun action romp, between bloody characters, Wolverine fighting the Predator. It's like, okay, these guys are gonna hack and slash at each other until one of them stays down. Black Panther is not someone who's afraid to get his hands dirty. But the thing that got me intrigued with this, not just because it's Spider-Man, Spider-Man alone gets me intrigued, that's my boy, but it's Spider-Man going up against one of the ultimate hunters of the universe.
yeah.
And it's an extra twist on this predator because this is a predator that in even amongst his people is a zealot. He's like this guy. He's being called the Skinner, and he's like the murderer of their race.
He's an
He's a
extremist.
socio. He's an extremist. He's like a psychopath. You know what I mean? So how does Spider-Man deal with that? Because Spider-Man is not a killer. This is a guy who's going to try to apprehend you. When you apprehend a predator, it usually causes more problems than it solves.
A little bit, a
So
little bit.
how is Benjamin going to tell this story of a character who will refuse to kill a character, but a character that if you even attempt to stop will cause you more problems than good. So I'm intrigued by that. I want to also hear the voice of Peter coming out from Benjamin Percy because Benjamin Percy, he's from what I've seen him, he's always told action characters.
Yeah.
He's done a run of Wolverine, he had a run on X-Force, and he's done some other action-oriented books. But I've never seen him write a character like Spider-Man. So I'm curious to see how he's going to tell the story with him having to deal with a this murderous psychopath of a character.
Yeah.
Will he look at it like, oh, it's an alien, so screw it, I'll just punch his jaw off,
Right, right, right.
or is he gonna sit there and actually try to like talk to the guy? No, man, you can fix yourself. Did you lose your uncle
Right,
on your planet?
right.
I don't.
100%. Yeah. It happens, bro. It comes with the territory.
So I'm just curious to see where this is what this is gonna go, and just kind of like what you're saying with the Godzilla stuff. This is just a fun book to get into. Something you don't have to worry about, 800 pages of continuity to get into.
Yeah, we're talking about two other characters that we've seen the Predator face in the Marvel Universe, and like you were just saying, those two are not against killing. I mean, T'Challa will do it if it's righteous and it will save
Mhm.
Wakanda. Push comes to shove, he will, and a person or two. Whereas Spider-Man goes to great lengths not to. So there's a challenge right there creatively. Also, there's a challenge because there's a big old looming shadow. It wouldn't be the first time my boy Spider-Man was hunted to his ultimate end, and thus Benjamin Percy has some major shoes to fill so that people don't equate
Mhm.
this to a Craven's Last Hunt, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how that happens there as well. And yeah, I mean, there's few and far between moments of comedic relief in Predator because there's mostly people getting gutted and hung from
Ah,
trees and all kinds
get to
of,
the chopper.
yeah, all kinds of craziness. So I'm going to be curious to see how Mr. Percy injects that trademark smart talking Spider-Man in all this. But God, now that I'm thinking about it, like we got to see the symbiote in this, right? Like I feel like with aliens and alien tech and whatever, maybe that's what else Spider-Man got. I don't know if any of his homemade tech is gonna go against some of this Predator stuff here. But that's the whole point, right? You set up this stuff, you set up this fight, you set up this marquee, and you see who comes and sits front row to see who the winner is gonna be. It's the same thing like my Godzilla Hulk pick, like. they got to be very careful as to how they portray these characters, but the fight is what you're there for.
Yep.
You're there to see the nitty gritty, the swinging of the punches, which makes a lot of sense because we are in WrestleMania season. So now
Mhm.
we have two main events right here: Hulk and Godzilla and Spider-Man and Predator, which is
Let's
pretty damn
go.
awesome. Yeah,
Saturday, Saturday, Saturday.
yeah, right. But we're like I said, I don't see this train stopping anytime soon.
Nope.
These comics are only getting better. These runs are getting better. I mean, there would have been no lie, somewhere close to five um, honorable mentions on my list. You know, just
Yeah.
things like Uncanny X-Men, which is killing the game. X-Men, doing fine things over there. The Absolute and the Ultimate Universes are all on
Yep.
all cylinders. One World under Doom is still pumping out a bunch
Yep.
of books across that section. And then you were talking about like the return of stuff like Snot Girl, right? Is coming out. Void Rivals is still
Mhm.
alive and kicking. So is Transformers. So don't get slighted that maybe some of those books weren't named here. This we are literally in a very rare time where you could probably close your eyes, move your finger around, and pick a
Eating.
book, and
Eating.
it's going to be something fantastic. But that's what we're here to do for you guys. We're here to navigate the solicitations, find out the picks, and give you guys our picks each and every month. But that will end this episode for our April picks. But guys, we do this each and every month. If you guys like watching these videos, but you can't get enough of us, go check out the Major Issues podcast, which comes out every single week as part of comicbookclick.com. We've done over 370 episodes of that podcast, and you can find some of those episodes, the video versions, on this very channel. But if you want to just listen for audio purposes, our podcast is available wherever podcasts are found. If you guys want to help and support us here, like, share, subscribe, tell to tell a friend about major previews. Let us know in the comment section for engagement purposes what you guys are reading and what we should be picking up. Maybe we got a blind spot, if you will. So go ahead and point out what stories are tickling your fancy so we can go ahead and check those out. But we'll be back next month in for our May picks. Golly, we're getting close to the middle of this year very,
Yeah,
very
just
fast. But
faster than a speeding bullet, man.
but if you ever need reasons to live past tomorrow, check out Major Previews, and they'll give you reasons each month to live past tomorrow. But no, thank you guys all for your support with Comic Book Click and everything, all your support with this video series and all the stuff that we go do. But yeah, you can find us at facebook.com/Comic Book Click, Instagram at Comic Book Click. Use that hashtag Comic Book Click to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We do major previews as a labor of love. But consider going to our Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. Change in your couch. You can help support us and keep our lights on here as we try to do our best to provide content free of charge, But, we're going to need a little help from you guys. But thank you for everyone who's helped thus far. You've got us this far. We are growing exponentially. 2025 is a huge year for Comic Book Click. So make sure you get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. Check out all of our picks. And we will join you next month for major previews for the month of May. But my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
And I'm Alex Garcia, the comic OG, the cog to my friends.
Thank you guys for checking out major previews. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.